What's not classified is that it was an incredibly successful mission against the Houthis.
Okay, so it was classified. So are you trying to say that the information was unclassified?
I'm not trying to say anything.
That's what I thought. You're not saying that. So you took classified information from Central Command that had a classification marking on it, because that's what's required by DoD regulations, and you put it on an unclassified system. So we're going to get a report in a few days from the DoD Inspector General. And if the DoD Inspector General finds what is pretty obvious, both to you smiling there in the witness seat and to all of us up here, that the information was, in fact, classified, do you plan to take any accountability for that?
A congressman asks a simple yes or no question about combat launch times being texted on Signal, and the defense secretary won't answer what should be the easiest part. Was it classified? Watch how fast national security turns into political dodge.
In fact, classified. Do you plan to take any accountability for that?
As I pointed out at the time...
you said that accountability is back. Does that not apply to you?
As I said at the time, Congressman, there were no names, targets, locations, units, routes, sources, methods, no classified information.
Okay, so if it comes back that it is classified, will you take accountability or not? You've already admitted that it was classified because everything you get from CENTCOM is classified. You just explained that to me. That's how you justified not answering the question.
Not what I said. I didn't confirm any classification or
Okay, so if it is
what
confirmed,
I know is that
will you take
everything
accountability?
I share, everything I talk about,
Mr. Secretary, does accountability apply to you or not?
Is classified whether I talk or not.
Does it apply to you or not?
Does what apply to me?
Accountability. You said accountability is back at the Secretary.
And you know what? The Houthis were held accountable for shooting at our
I'm just asking if it applies to you.
Very successfully.
I'm not asking about the Houthis.
Previous administration let our ships get shot at, and nothing was done about it. And thankfully, because of the skill and courage of our troops on the battlefield,
asking about
we actually put them in a place where they called for a ceasefire.
I reclaim my time. I'm just asking if accountability applies to you. It's a very simple question. We use leadership by example.
Of course. Unlike, I serve at the pleasure of the president like everybody else does.
So it only applies to the president, not to you?
I serve at the pleasure.
You talked about the success of the Houthi operation. About how much money did it cost? How much money did you spend on missiles shooting at the Houthis?
Well, you'd have to compare that with what it cost.
I'm just asking how much did it cost?
Divert our shipping lanes around.
I'm told it's several $100 million, maybe close to $1 billion. How many U.S.-flagged commercial ships have transited the Red Sea since your so-called successful operation?
Well, thankfully, unlike the previous administration,
the answer is zero.
Military vessels transit.
No, I didn't ask about military vessels. I asked
which would
about
be the
commercial
precursor
vessels.
for
how many commercial vessels?
Transit.
It's been several weeks. How many commercial vessels, U.S. flagged, have transited the Red Sea?
Well, would you, Mr. Congressman, put civilian ships
The questions are not to me, Mr. Secretary. They're to you.
We have responsibly put military.
The answer is zero.
First.
I reclaim my time. How many generals and admirals have you fired?
I don't know the exact number, but
you don't know the number. It's 8. Can you explain why any of them were fired? Like, just explain why was the Army JAG fired? Why did you fire him?
They all serve at the pleasure of the president. And I think
no, I'm just asking you why.
General Kane is a great example.
I'm just asking you why.
That we need
you probably learned at Princeton what why means. Why did you fire him?
They serve at the pleasure of the president, and we want better representation in each and every of those.
You can't explain why you fired any of them?
Gentleman's time's expired, Chair, and I recognize the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Scott.
All right, let's pick up right where this clip starts, because this is the moment the mask slips. Moulton says the Inspector General report is coming in a few days and asks the only question that matters. If it turns out that information was classified, will you take accountability? And Hegseth answers like every politician who wants the benefits of a hard job without the consequences of one. He doesn't answer. He smiles, stalls, and tries to float above the record. Instead, he gives you the nothing to see here checklist. No names, no targets, no locations, no units, no routes, no sources, no methods. Cool. That's also the exact speech you give when you know you can't admit what you did, but you still want the audience to think you're responsible, because the point isn't whether he pasted a whole war plan into Signal. The point is that he was pressed about operational timing in a real strike environment, launch times in contested airspace against anti-aircraft missiles. Timing is not trivia. Timing is how people get killed. And listen to the contradiction Moulton flags. First, Hegseth leans on the idea that anything from CENTCOM is treated as classified, so he can't talk about it. Then seconds later, he insists there was no classified information at all. That's not an explanation. It's two different defenses, depending on which one keeps him safest. Then Moulton keeps hammering the word accountability, and you can hear why. Hegseth once said, accountability is back. So Moulton is basically asking, does that slogan apply to you too, or is it only for the people you're bombing? And Hegseth pivots into his favorite escape hatch. I serve at the pleasure of the president. Translation, I don't answer to oversight, I answer to politics. That's not leadership, that's a loyalty clause. And when he's cornered, he drags in the previous administration like it's a smoke grenade. Congressional hearings, where every question comes with a free time machine. So Moulton switches to numbers because numbers don't care about speeches. How much did it cost? Hegseth won't give a straight figure. He gives a comparison, then shrugs out several hundred million, maybe close to $1 billion. That's not a budget answer. That's trust me, bro, with a Pentagon letterhead. Then comes the gut punch. How many U.S. flagged commercial ships have transited the Red Sea since this successful operation? Hegseth says, zero. Not a few, not it's improving, zero. And he even frames it as, thankfully, zero, which is a choice. Like, congratulations, the scoreboard is empty. If the goal is making the Red Sea safer for commerce and the result is still 0 ships, what exactly are we celebrating? A very expensive press release? And then we hit the purge question. How many generals and admirals have you fired? He doesn't know. Moulton tells him 8. Imagine firing 8 senior leaders and showing up to Congress like, I don't know, somewhere between a couple and a small baseball team. Why were they fired? Again, they serve at the pleasure of the president. That's not an explanation. That's a Dodge wearing a suit. You don't get to reshuffle the top of the U.S. military and then act offended someone asked why. Moulton hits I reclaim my time like it's the congressional mute button because the evasions are eating the clock on purpose. So here's the through line. Every hard question gets a foggy answer. Every metric gets a pivot, and every demand for accountability gets kicked upstairs to the president. That's how you run a department when you don't want oversight, you want applause. And yes, the chair ends it with time expired. Next member. For him, that's the escape. For the rest of us, that's not a reassuring clip. It's a warning label. In real time, okay, comment below. What was the worst dodge? The pleasure of the president line, the $1 billion shrug, the 0 ships answer, or not knowing the number of firings?